We read from an editorial in the Orange County Register going back to weeks before the November 6th election. It's clear now what went on with your yes vote on Prop 30. It took less than 2 weeks to confirm what was suspected. Much of the money from the Prop 30 tax increases approved by voters is not going to go to the schools as advertised, but to teacher pensions.
They quote CalPensions.com, quote, more money for the underfunded California state teachers retirement system may be considered by the legislature next year thanks to new attention from lawmakers and a state budget deficit narrowed by a voter-approved tax increase this month. So the money is not going to your schools. The money is going to teacher pensions, as we told you repeatedly. And that's why the unions had such a huge turnout to vote for this thing. It's because they were getting the money.
And, you know, some of when we talked about this a couple of months ago came from, I think, a Wall Street Journal story, and they did talk to David Crane. Now, David Crane is a Democrat. Presently, he's a lecturer in the public policy program at Stanford and president of something called Govern California. Quote, I've always thought the tax increase would create the money for them to fund the deeply underfunded CalSTRS pension system. He said that Brown, Darrell Steinberg, and John Perez wanted to keep quiet about CalSTRS problems during the election. Now they're not going to be so quiet because they got the money.
He warned in July that Prop 30 would not help the state budget. He said solving California's budget woes requires addressing five root causes. Unfunded health care promises to retired employees, excessive incarceration rates, a boom-and-bust revenue system, because it depends on the wealthy to pay their taxes more than anything.
Even more now, yeah.
Underfunded pension commitments and fast-growing spending on Medicaid. This is what we've been telling you. Over a 20-year period, we added 10 million citizens, not 10 million citizens, 10 million people in California, 7 million on Medicaid. 7 million on Medicaid out of 10 million new people. Only 150,000 new income tax filers. And so now the budget is being busted by health care promises to retired employees, underfunded pension commitments, spending on Medicaid, and the deficit is exaggerated by this boom-and-bust revenue system, and he says excessive incarceration rates. I disagree with him on that. It's because we spend so much money on each prisoner. It's not the number of prisoners, it's the amount of money spent on each prisoner, and that's in part caused by union contract.
The only thing I disagreed with that assessment was the incarceration rates. I like to keep people in prison. But you're right. The money that's spent and how we spend it with the prisons, that needs to be revamped. But everything else, he nailed. And this is a Democrat. But, of course, he's not really working in Sacramento anymore and advising top politicians the way he used to.
So the people pushing this, Brown, Steinberg, and Perez, didn't bring up the underfunded pension situation for the teachers. We did repeatedly. I have no idea why people want to surrender their tax money for a bloated teacher pension system. It's just absurd and outrageous and ridiculous. Their pensions will be big enough even if it is underfunded.
Well, listen to what legislative analyst Mac Taylor wrote in a report on November 14th about Prop 30, the tax increase. A key priority of the state in this regard probably should be a funding plan to address CalSTRS unfunded liabilities. Additional funding from the state, districts, and or teachers of over $3 billion a year and growing over time will be required to keep CalSTRS solvent and retire its unfunded liabilities over the next several decades. So that's what we were telling everybody back then. That message doesn't get through, though. The commercials that played over and over again about Save the Children, K through 12 schools got Prop 30 passed because people don't listen to the truth. Well, they just can't understand it.
It was a Save the Teachers retirement system. That was the purpose of Prop 30. Your kids aren't going to get the money. You're not going to see any difference in the classroom, any difference at the school. It was a whole lot of hooey. It was just all lies and nonsense, theatrics, orchestrated theatrics. And people fell for it, and people with the self-interest in the system, the union members, came out in incredible numbers. The turnout among union people, especially in Los Angeles County, was huge because they knew they were going to be the beneficiaries of this. It is so frustrating to have the truth in your hands and know that we're totally alone in disseminating this truth. There's nobody else out there who talks about the stuff we know is true. It always turns out to be true. Nobody else brings it up. Nobody questions it. Everybody just goes along with the propaganda message of the day. Unbelievably frustrating. But that's why we're in the toilet just as a whole in this state. We're in the toilet in so many different ways because people don't have the information they need or they don't believe it when they hear it. All right, we'll continue. John and Ken Show, KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk radio.